Boring versus creative B-roll. Gimbals can get super smooth footage, but it doesn't mean that you're gonna get good footage. So in this video, I wanna show you how you can get better looking footage using your gimbal so that it's not boring, but it's something that a pro would actually want to capture when they're shooting their films. All right, let's get into it. So I'm down here at the San Clemente Pier, and it's a cool spot. It's a spot that a lot of you might want to come to and visit, and you'd want to shoot some cool footage of the location. But just by having a gimbal doesn't mean that you're going to have good footage. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to shoot this pier and this whole area, and I'm going to do it in a couple different ways. First, we'll do it what the beginner or the boring footage might look like, and then we'll do the pro, or like the more advanced or the more thought out would be. And at the end of this video, I'm gonna show you the difference between both. So we'll shoot a little sequence and I'll cut both together. And I'm gonna show you some of the things that I personally would do when I'm out filming and using my gimbal, because it is super important to think through your shots, especially when you wanna capture good looking footage. Number one, move your body. We're up here on this overlook with a beautiful shot of the pier in the distance, but this guy's just standing there twisting his body. He gets a reveal that comes out from the bushes to the scene, but it could be a lot more interesting. So to be more creative, he actually gets behind the bush and walks out from behind that bush. So instead of panning, he's creating a dolly shot to reveal the pier off in the distance. Number two, avoid always shooting at eye level. Look, we got him to start moving. He's actually walking down the beach, but he's keeping the camera just right in front of his face. This is a very lazy way to shoot, because if you think about it, everyone always defaults to just putting the camera right in front of their face and shooting at eye level. So just change your perspective and get down low or get up high so that you can get a different style of shot, and it's gonna completely change the feel of the gimbal move that you're filming. Now keep in mind, when you're filming with a gimbal, if you're close to an object, you will see more wobble if you're moving up and down slightly. So just a little thing to keep in mind, because he wasn't perfect when he shot this dolly shot. Number three, change the type of shot that you're filming. It looks like he's not filming at eye level anymore. However, now he's just doing the same dolly shot over and over. When you're using a gimbal, you don't want to get in the habit of always shooting the same shot over and over. You want to try to change it up and come up with some different ideas of how you can move your camera in space. It's completely up to how you move your body through the location, so you can come up with some creative ways to show the scene rather than doing the same dolly shot over and over. Number four, create a plan. He's back at the beach, but it looks like he's kind of just wandering around with a gimbal. He's definitely getting some smooth shots, but there really is no focus to what he's doing. He's just moving in different directions with the gimbal, and I'm sure he's thinking that the shot's just gonna be good because it's smooth. The reality is, when you're using a gimbal, you still wanna think through beginning, middle, and end of each shot. So what is the first frame? How are you gonna move through the space? And then what is your final frame? So that you can be more intentional with every shot, and it ends up having more of a creative look, especially when you start cutting it all together. Number five, avoid only using wide shots. Oh good, we're finally off of the beach and he's up on the pier shooting something different, but it looks like he's just shooting another wide shot of the landscape. These shots are great, but if you want more creative looking footage, you don't always want to shoot the same type of wide shot of beautiful landscape. It gets boring after a while. Instead, focus on some details. What are some things that you can get close-ups of that's really going to help paint the picture of where you're at and tell more of the story, rather than just always using big, pretty landscape shots? You're done? No, you're not done. Turn around. When you're filming a sequence like this, it's always good to look around and try to find some different shots, even though you think you might have got all the footage that you need. Some of your most creative shots will come after you play around a little bit and you just start experimenting with some different locations and some different ways to shoot the scene. So number six is don't always use autofocus. One technique that you'll want to use with your gimbal is to put objects in the foreground of your frame. The issue is, when you do this and you have autofocus on, your focus is going to be pinging between whatever's foreground and whatever's in the background. But what you want to do when you're filming a shot like this is you want to focus on either the background or the foreground, and you don't want the focus jump in between. So you'll want to switch your camera over to manual focus, lock on to whatever's in the distance or whatever's in the foreground, and then keep your autofocus off for the duration of that shot. But remember, once you stop recording, make sure you turn your autofocus back on so you don't end up with a bunch of out of focus shots. Number 7 is be patient. Sometimes it'll take a while to get the shot just right. If you just hit record, grab 10 seconds and move on, you sometimes miss some of the best shots. So he's just up here waiting for one of the surfers to actually catch a wave, because that's a shot that could be used in the edit to help paint the picture of this whole sequence that we're filming. And number 8 is experiment. So play around with your different modes like pan follow, pan tilt follow, and even FPV mode, and create some rolls in your footage just to play around and see if you can come up with some different styles of shots that are gonna work in the video that you're creating. All right, so now let's look at the difference between the boring footage and the creative footage. Okay, that was really boring. There was a few good shots in there, but overall, it's not that exciting to watch. To make this more creative, you want to add music, sound effects, maybe add some LUTs to give it a creative look, and cut the shots in a sequence that tell more of a story. Now the gimbal can get really awesome footage, but you definitely want to think about what you're shooting and if a gimbal makes sense. Having super smooth footage is great, but sometimes you'll want to take it handheld, or sometimes you'll want to put it on a tripod. This is just another tool for your toolkit to be able to get good footage and help you tell your story. Now, if you want to learn how to make better videos, make sure you head over to the Creator Film School. That's where I have all my courses around editing, color grading, and everything else that you need to learn to craft better videos. And next, you should check out this video right here, which goes through beginner versus pro gimbal moves and some things you should think about when you're out filming. I'll see you over there.